Studio Ghibli is masterful at concocting this morally nuanced storytelling, grounded in deep humanistic character work and a distrust of narrow provincialism and the idea that good is this pure, distinct, beautiful force that inevitably triumphs over evil. Life is complicated and messy, and there can be good found in unexpected places, and there can be darkness found even where light should be. Ghibli, their films feel so real because they fully embody this experience of the world, this conflicted, deeply human set of desires. Nonetheless, the Tales from Earthsea film that Studio Ghibli made completely failed to live up to those ideals and instead offers a rather sickly, skeletal version of the original Earthsea stories. And it's all rather strange because Tales from Earthsea is one of the works of American literature that actively desires to channel that non-dualistic Taoist, Buddhist influenced sensibility that is so prevalent in a lot of great works of Japanese art and literature, including the films of Studio Ghibli. It's all rather odd. Tales from Earthsea tries so heavily for that arguably Japanese sensibility, this soft lyricism, this contemplative mysticism, this opposition to these rigid binaries. And it's all very much inspired by this whole trend of quote-unquote Eastern thinking that really filters into America in the 60s and 70s. The hippies, counterculture, New Age movement, all of that. Tales of Earthsea, written in the 1970s largely, embodies that philosophy, those sensibilities, that moral system as a work, and yet the book, the entire book series, was adapted by Studio Ghibli, which is so good mostly at creating this very layered, lush, morally complicated storytelling, deeply humanistic, deeply lyrical storytelling, in a way that is bad and childish and a bit bereft of meaning and purpose. It's a bit strange. You take two very, very strong foundations, Tales from Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin and Studio Ghibli, and you mash them together and you get something very banal. Ursula Le Guin was a major fan of Studio Ghibli. I highly doubt that surprises anyone, and so she was very excited when Studio Ghibli was making its adaptation of her work, even though she normally has this rather stern disdain toward adapters of her work. Tales from Earthsea was not made by Hayao Miyazaki or Isao Takahata, but rather by Miyazaki's son, Goro, who owes both too much and too little to his name. From what I've seen of Goro's upbringing, it does not seem like Hayao Miyazaki was a nice and pleasant person to have as a father. Certainly not the most encouraging. He did not think Goro should pursue animation. He didn't think he had the talent and the understanding, which arguably is correct. But also because he had that name Miyazaki, the other people at Studio Ghibli, and especially Suzuki, the producer, very much threw him into a top role before he was really ready. So there is an open question whether he was thrown into a big role before he was ready and was thus set up to failure, or whether his father was right and he really just didn't have the emotional and philosophical wherewithal to make a great Studio Ghibli movie. But in any case, Tales from Earthsea, his first big picture, was an utter failure. I would say it is the worst Studio Ghibli movie by a comfortable margin. I have watched every single Studio Ghibli movie, and this is the worst. I don't think that is a particularly unpopular opinion either. It is the only Studio Ghibli movie I actively did not want to finish. I considered turning it off halfway through because I was just so annoyed, tired, disappointed. Ursula Le Guin reviewed this movie, and she was not a fan. She said a lot of the same things I'm saying to you now, that the film completely misses a lot of the major ideas of the work, that it is set in this world that is against these simple hero versus villain, good guy versus bad guy dichotomies, is set in a world of more moral complexity, a world of thoughtfulness, a world where success and morality and virtue are not simply based on martial glory, on the veneration of violence and bloodshed. Whereas the film very much is this simplistic story of swords and sorcery, basically, about evil creatures and noble heroes and the like. Ursula Le Guin has also been a bit renowned for her disdain of the whitewashing of the cast of these books in adaptations of them, the lightening of the characters' skin tones, which itself, I'm not really sure I agree with that criticism necessarily. I mean, certainly there's something to that, but I think it's rather odd that we've arrived at a point where casting European actors as non-European in characters is considered vile whitewashing, whereas casting non-European, non-white actors for roles that were originally for white Europeans is considered, great and transgressive and progressive and all that. That just seems like a double standard, and I think a lot of people are tired of that. See all the hullabaloo over Snow White and Little Mermaid and things like that. But Ursula Le Guin is smarter than most of the progressive left, and she does acknowledge that, Japan might see things differently from me, and if the film cast characters animates characters that seem to have lighter skin than I intended. That's fine. They are their own country. They have the right to do things as they want, and that's not really why the film is bad. I appreciate that level of nuance from Le Guin. And she's right, that's not why it's bad. It's bad because it's banal. It's because it's oversimplistic. Because it takes Le Guin's very nuanced, very contemplative stories, which are very much trying to navigate through this uncertain world and create an idea of heroism and virtue that is fundamentally not tied to this old ideal of fighting, of beating the bad guy, of doing things like that. Tales from Earthsea fundamentally go against that worldview. That is a major core of these books. And so to strip that out kind of ruins the point of a lot of these books. It makes them worse stories. I do like that Le Guin said that one thing she did like in the movie is how the dragon's wings look. That is very Le Guin, to dislike something but point to a particular detail, an aesthetic bit of wonderment that really captured her. I respect that, honestly. Le Guin is very influenced by Taoism. She said that what she often tries to conceptualize in her science fiction and her fantasy is not, say, a feminist utopia necessarily, but a yin utopia, which I found fascinating. As in a utopia that prioritizes a lot of these qualities traditionally associated with the feminine, as in caring, nourishment, working together instead of competition. The sense of flexibility, softness, movement. This is one side of life Le Guin recognizes, and it's a side that's not recognized enough in contemporary mainstream American culture, so she wants to change that to an extent. And I appreciate that. I appreciate her thoughtfulness and her ability to take these ideas from Laoja and Zhuangzi and the like and mold them into the backbone of her work. A major point of Taoism is that the Tao, the way, is not one thing. It's not hot or cold. It's not high or low. It's not big or small. To try to describe it in any certain way is to limit it, and to say it can't be other things as well. And Le Guin is interested in those other things. She is interested in that more pluralistic way of thinking. And this is a way of thinking that Studio Ghibli tends to be very good at. Princess Mononoke is my personal favorite example. It's a film that is about trying to make peace amidst a desolate world comprised of many groups of people who are in conflict with each other. They look about a fragmented world, a world that has lost any sense of coherence, and it's a world of struggling and strife. It is a world of these oppositions. Humanity and nature, and even different factions within, say, the human side and the natural side. These issues of how to respond to loss, how to respond to modernity. These are complicated issues, and the tensions are inevitable in these issues. But nonetheless, it is worthy and noble to try to make peace, to try to create a sense of harmony that recognizes difference, does not try to erase it, that acknowledges a sense of loss, and yet tries to build a better society regardless. that is very quintessentially Studio Ghibli, and I think that's something that Le Guin very much respects as well. It's a central ethos in Earthsea and in a lot of her work. From The Left Hand of Darkness to famous short story, Those Who Walk Away from Omelas. It's something she really thinks about a lot. And Tales from Earthsea, the film, just doesn't do that. It doesn't live up to the best of Le Guin or the best of Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki. But it's important to acknowledge not just that the film doesn't work, which it doesn't, but to understand that it very easily could have worked. That there is a very similar sensibility here. And if that's traditional Studio Ghibli sensibility was brought to illuminate the work of Le Guin, could have been something very special. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos just like this one before anyone else. Keep watching Studio Ghibli movies. When you have seen as many Studio Ghibli movies as I have, ones that really don't work stick out, and I think it's worth asking why. Why doesn't this work? And why did it end up like this? What's missing here? And that is what I have tried to do with my analysis of this film, of Tales from Earthsea. So anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon, that I promise you. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.